Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, excelențele voastre, doamnelor și domnilor, bună dimineața și vă urez bun venit la sediul Reprezentanței Comisiei Europene în România, la o dezbatere care se bucură de prezența unui coleg cu importantă experiență de la Comisia Europeană, precum și de prezența unor invitați care vor face prezentări legate de un subiect pe care ar trebui să acceptăm că nu l-am abordat cu suficient de multă deferență și insistență în ultima perioadă, concentrându-ne mai mult pe problematica crizei economice și financiare. Ce aș vrea să menționez este că acum 3 săptămâni ne-am bucurat de vizita în România a Comisarului European pentru Lărgire, Stefan Füle, și această vizită cred că a readus în atenția opiniei publice, a politicienilor, a mass media, acest subiect care rămâne în continuare una din prioritățile importante ale Uniunii Europene, și anume procesul de extindere. Cu atât mai mult cu cât, iată, conform calendarului, la mijlocul anului viitor, Uniunea Europeană va primi în rândurile sale un nou membru, este vorba de Croația. Aș vrea să spun că procesul de pregătire a aderării de noi state, de pregătire pentru dobândirea statutului de candidat la aderarea la Uniunea Europeană a continuat, așa cum spuneam, probabil nu suficient de vizibil, însă comisarul Füle a fost felicitat de factorii politici din România pentru activitatea intensă pe care Comisia Europeană a dus-o în această perioadă, chiar dacă, repet, în principal, eforturile, dezbaterile au fost concentrate pe problematica legată de criza economică și financiară. Am să-l rog pe domnul Cristian Ghinea, care este directorul Centrului Român de Politici Europene, să ne ajute asigurând rolul de moderator al acestei dezbateri, să vă prezinte vorbitorii pe care am invitat astăzi la dezbaterea noastră și, de asemenea, să faciliteze dialogul dintre acești contributori și dumneavoastră, cei care ne-ați onorat astăzi cu prezența.
Mă bucur foarte mult să fiu aici și vă urez bine ați venit. Mă bucur și pentru că tema acestei dezbateri este dragă pentru mine. De multe ori, atunci când călătoresc în regiune, în Balcani, dar și în Est, în Moldova, în Ucraina, văd acolo oameni încă îndrăgostiți de Uniunea Europeană. Ceea ce mi se pare paradoxal, că în Uniunea Europeană însăși sunt foarte multe voci sceptice, foarte multă resemnare, foarte multă îngrijorare, dar faptul că multe țări stau la ușe și încă vor să adere la acest spațiu este un semn bun pentru Uniunea Europeană. Și întotdeauna când călătoresc, mai ales în Balcan, și văd această dorință, iau ca pe un semn de optimism. Cred că putem scuza absența doamnei Odobescu, date fiind evenimentele politice ale zilei neașteptate. Astfel că o să mergem de la domnul Venceslav de Lofovic.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be back in Bucharest, and after having worked through enlargement of Romania to the European Union, to continue the task of working on enlargement. 3 weeks ago there was in Prague the enlargement dialogue. It was a kind of common thinking of many peoples coming from new member states and from the European Commission. And the Czech Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Karel Schwarzenberg, explained that enlargement was one of the most successful policies of the EU since ages. And he was right. When the EU started, we were only 6 member states, and next July we will be 28 member states. The European Union has to continue to meet the challenge of history, like we did in the past. But to be quite fair, we must admit that the atmosphere, the mood, has changed a little bit. We cannot forget that we are experiencing an economic crisis, and that the consequences of the economic crisis as well as of globalization leads some European citizens to think a little bit more about enlargement. Enlargement should continue because candidate countries are asking to join the European Union. And the European Union will continue to do its best to give a positive answer to this question. But now it's a little bit more complicated because we have to meet not only the consequences of the end of the Cold War, like it was in 2004 and 2007, but we have also to meet the challenge of a post-Civil War situation in the Western Balkans. But first of all, where do we stand? I hope that I'm able to... no. Where do we stand? Because the situation is rather complicated and we have a lot of different categories. We have one acceding country, and the word acceding is important, which is Croatia. The Treaty of Accession was signed in Brussels in December 2011, and Croatia will join the European Union on the 1st of July of next year. There is only one condition: the treaty must be ratified by all parliaments of all 27 member states. I say ratified by parliaments because theoretically it could be also in some member states ratified by a referendum, but it seems that no member state has taken such a decision, like it was in the past in certain member states. In 1972, the French government decided that the accession treaty of the UK, Ireland, Denmark, and also Norway should be ratified by referendum. The second category are the candidate countries where negotiations have been opened. The where have been opened is an important one. There is Turkey, where negotiations have been opened in October 2005. At the same time, the negotiations were opened with Croatia. There is Iceland, our last guest, where negotiations have been opened in 2010. And there is Montenegro, where negotiation began in June 2012. So it's really the start of the negotiations. We have then, it's working wonderful, we have then candidate without negotiations. There are two of them. The first one is the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, which received the candidate status in 2005, and where the European Council has not taken the decision to open negotiations, and Serbia, where the same decision has been taken in March 2012. And then we have 3 potential candidates, which are Albania, where the Commission explained that there is conditionality for granting the status of candidate. Then there is Bosnia and Herzegovina, and finally Kosovo. So you see that it's a little bit more complicated than it was in 2004 and 2007. We have 4 different categories: potential candidates, candidate which requires a decision by the European Council to grant the status, but it's not the decision to open the negotiations. And for the candidate, category number 3, opening the negotiation. And finally, the last status, which is the exceeding country, which means that the negotiations have been closed. As every year, on the 10th of October, the Commission issued their reports on enlargement. In our Euro jargon or Brussels jargon, it's called the enlargement package. But as it is not a very user-friendly word, I tried only to mention the documents of the 10th of October. It's an important pack of documents, and maybe the most important thing DG Enlargement is doing in the whole year. All in all, the Commission adopted this year 9 documents. On the one hand, of course, a comprehensive document, the strategy paper, and I'm happy to see that in your files it has been reproduced, and if you are interested you can go through and you have a summary of the situation of each of the countries. Then we have 6 progress reports on Montenegro, Serbia, Albania, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Turkey and Iceland. 1 monitoring report, the wording is different for Croatia because the treaty has been signed, and 1 feasibility study for concluding association agreement, stability and association agreement with Kosovo.
I think we learned a lot now about this enlargement package from the 10th of October this year, and I'm grateful to Mr. Orkovic, but I think altogether we can see that this package actually reaffirms European perspective for the countries of Southeastern Europe, for Turkey and for Iceland, because it reports the progress in every country. And there are certain challenges, but I'm sure with the experience of European Union and with the will of the countries, they will become not only potential candidates, but the candidates as well, and then further on. When we speak about the enlargement, maybe it was enlargement at the beginning of United Europe, but now we can see that it's a continuation of unification, actually, of entire European continent. And I'm glad that the representation of European Commission here made this map, because we can see that there is the whole continent is here. And the member states, the potential candidates, we are all together, and the color is bright. So I'm sure this is also kind of symbolism. Enlargement process has a huge political, historical, and cultural meaning for the countries, but also for the Europe as a whole. Croatia's accession to EU, although it was colored by European political uncertainty on further enlargement and the changing institutional architecture, it's a success. It's a huge success for Croatia, for Southeastern Europe, and for Europe as a whole. We started negotiations 6 years ago. So altogether, the negotiations took us 6 years together with our friends. Huge help European Commission, but we also prepared ourselves for more than 6 years. So it was a long and challenging journey towards our historical goal to reach the EU membership. But with this, our accession carries strategic significance and irreversible stabilization impact for the Southeastern Europe. It supports the European future for this region, but also it's very important to say that it brings to Croatia, it resulted with establishment of administrative and institutional structure. We built many institutions. This is actually the modernization of the country with the help of European Commission and with the help of other members. For Croatia, for a country whose people, history, values are closely linked to those of EU nations, it seems like a natural choice. There was always a key priority choice ever since our independence 20 years ago. And there was a strong consensus among all political parties in all the way towards EU. However, the war imposed on Croatia prevented Croatia from taking part in the previous enlargement at the earlier stage and joining other countries of post-communist Europe. Now we are close to one phase, but very soon we are entering the new phase. And we are very dedicated to the new phase. And in the meantime, you saw that since we signed the accession treaty a year ago, we made another progress. We didn't stop here. And neither with the day of signing, but neither with the actual accession to the EU, there will be no end for our reforms. I can tell you where we are with the ratification now in this moment. As you know, we need 27 ratifications. Till the end of this year, so 2/3 period, we will have 21 countries, including Romania. I here would like to thank Romania especially because of their early ratification. They were among the first third of the country. For the next year, we will have probably in January Belgium, in February Denmark, in March Great Britain, and then hopefully very soon Slovenia, Germany, and Netherlands. I just heard that yesterday that Germany will start in December. So, and we will have the final report in April. So we have 6 more months for the last 6 countries. We can say all in one that EU membership brought long-term stability and unity to the EU continent. The proof is Nobel Prize for Peace. The very proof. Croatia is very proud to be able to make its own contribution to the grand project of United Europe.
However, from the viewpoint of the content, I think I'm going to change a little bit the rhythm of the presentations here. Just to raise a few questions, I'm not going to have a long speech, just raise a few questions. Reading the strategy paper, I tried to pick up a few points that I think are important. So I'm not going on the path of praising enlargement. It is pretty obvious, so I want to say from the very start that enlargement is a very beneficial process for Europe. particularly for Southeastern Europe and hopefully for Eastern Europe. So it is, I think it's a good thing that in the strategy paper there is a renewed consensus on enlargement. And that this year, 2012, we had progress in this area with Serbia, with Montenegro, and even with Turkey. And the fact that next year Croatia is going to become a member. However, looking at the challenges, I noticed a few things related to them. For example, the rule of law challenge that is mentioned as a main one. There is this phrase mentioned in the strategy paper saying there is a need for a change in judicial culture. But I think that there is more than that in Southeastern Europe, and I dare to say that not only in the countries that are accessing or on the way of accession, candidates or potential candidates, even in countries like my own, like Romania. It is a matter of changing the way people think in relation to the law, to abiding by the law. And I think this is the biggest challenge of all, because all these countries they have a certain history, they have a present situation, economic and political situation. And I think that people learn that if they disobey the law, they profit. So what do you do to counter this way of thinking? I think this is a challenge, and I think that perhaps Western Europeans, the founders of the EU and other countries that became members, are less aware of the situation. I don't know to what extent, maybe for part of the business circle, this is actually the status quo is okay. Now I have to say that if we are looking from the point of view of a theorist, certainly if you don't recognize a state, then there are less chances that you can cooperate fully and actually support that entity, let's put it like that, to develop as a state. So from this point of view, certainly this is a problem, but this is a problem that needs to be sorted politically within EU. So more internal negotiations are needed in this sense. The third challenge, the economic and social challenges, you also noticed, Mr. Lobkowitz, this economic dynamism of Turkey. And the paper actually emphasizes the discrepancy between this dynamic development of Turkey and the sluggishness of the economies in this area of future enlargement of the EU. Now, I want to stress that in the paper, it is interesting that the paper mentions that maintaining the momentum is important, because it kind of shows, it indicates that there are risks that people in these countries in Southeast Europe may lose faith, perhaps in the EU, given the fact that there are other challenges of the EU that we know very well about, the crisis, and particularly the euro crisis, and the finding solutions, adequate solutions, particularly political solutions to the issue.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to me to join today's debate on a very important topic for the Republic of Moldova, and I would like to thank the representation of the European Commission in Romania for this very important initiative. I'm glad to see so many friends of the Republic of Moldova in this room who are firmly supporting the idea of EU enlargement and whom we really need to advance on our way to the big European family. To achieve our strategic objectives, Moldova needs a strong Europe promoting innovative solutions to the problems it is facing nowadays. Europe, for my country, means continuation of the enlargement process. The example of the Western Balkan states is the most encouraging argument for us that with joint efforts we can reach this objective. The imminent accession of Croatia, the start of accession negotiations with Montenegro in June, and candidate status for Serbia in March show that the EU delivers on its commitment once the conditions are met. These positive developments also send a strong message and an incentive to all the countries of the region to step up their own preparation for the EU membership. The Republic of Moldova continues to be committed to make best use of the opportunities offered by the Eastern Partnership. We consider that the application of more for more principle is key precondition for an efficient development of Eastern Partnership. The recognition of the European perspective is of paramount importance for us, I mean for the Republic of Moldova. We do believe that the Eastern Partnership Vilnius Summit to be held in November next year under the Lithuanian EU presidency, by when we aim at concluding negotiations on the association agreement and fulfill the visa action plan, should become an expression of a real more for more principle. We have advanced significantly in the negotiation process of association agreement. Launching at the beginning of this year of the negotiation on DCFTA will lead us to economic integration with the EU. And as you know, visa liberalization is a milestone objective of the European integration agenda of Moldovan government. We welcome the recent decision to pass the Republic of Moldova to the second phase of visa liberalization dialogue with the EU, and we reiterate our strong commitment to implement all benchmarks in order to achieve visa-free regime in the nearest future. In conclusion, I would like to point out that the enlargement is a policy that brings security, stability and prosperity to the European Union, while the sentiment of fatigue, regardless of its French or English origin, should be replaced by the clear advantages of this process. Thank you very much, and I really appreciate by accepting my short and I hope very strong message in favor of enlargement and in favor of my country being as a full member of a big and European family. Thank you very much.
My question is, what really makes the difference between enlargement policy and neighborhood policy? What is the difference? Is it geography? Is it history? And I'm asking this because looking at different, let's say, meeting the different Europeanization criteria, I think, for instance, the Republic of Moldova can be in the front of some Western Balkans, in some areas of DCFTA, in some area of Home and Justice Affairs. So my question is it geography, is it history, or is it really doing your homework on the way towards European Union?
It's rather a short comment than a question. First of all, I want to thank you all, the speakers, especially Mr. Lopkowitz, for a very cautious terminology. And actually, there is one line I wanted to focus your attention to. It is territorial integrity of Kosovo. That was mentioned for the first time in this EU enlargement strategy. And Serbia's position is rather clear. We think it is for the first time that the European Commission crossed the line of status neutrality. Why? Territorial integrity is something related to states. And just for reference, Serbia wanted EU member states to put in some documents reference to 1244, that part that refers to territorial integrity. Never happened. And now it happened. So I just wanted to draw the line. We understand we are living in a real world, and Serbia is absolutely committed to constructive dialogue. Serbia. Belgrade is absolutely committed to constructive dialogue with Pristina, and it is not words, it is deeds. You know that political dialogue is on, it is lifted to the level of Prime Minister of Serbia and so-called Prime Minister of Kosovo. So the things are moving, and Serbia is absolutely committed to resolve all the questions by or through dialogue. It is out of question. I just wanted to say there is a certain line that was crossed, and we are not happy with that. The other comment is related to Madam Popescu mentioned. We are living in a very, very tough environment. We understand EU is facing tremendous problems within Eurozone, Eurozone Plus, etc., etc., and enlargement is not on the top of the agenda. Here I want to plead through Mr. Lopkowitz to keep in mind it's extremely important for candidate countries, for all countries that have intention to join the EU, to keep the momentum of reforms. So once the perspective of membership is blurred, it is becoming very, very difficult. So thank you so much.
Actually, I won't pose any questions, but I will make a few remarks. For those who do not know me, I'm the ambassador from Turkey to Romania. A few remarks because there has been quite some references to my country in the report and in the interventions. First of all, I wish to express our thanks to Mr. Ido and the representation of the European Commission, as well as the keynote speakers. This has been an illuminating exercise this morning. As regards the EU enlargement strategy and main challenges which we have seen this morning, and the presentation by Mr. Dezbatere, I'm just going to focus on the part regarding to Turkey. It starts with key country for the EU. I certainly agree. Dynamic economy, I agree fully. It's obvious. Just to remind that Turkish economy is the 16th in the world today and the 6th in Europe. In 2011, the growth rate was 8.5%. Bilateral trade volume has exceeded $300 billion, and it is going up. Turkey is a member of G20, and our trade volume's 50% is with the EU. This should not be forgotten. Turkey has been a member of the European institutions and organizations not since only 2005 when the accession negotiations started. As you have mentioned, Mr. Dezbatere, Turkey has become an associate member of the EU now EU, the then European Economic Community, as of 1963, which is a lifetime almost. Turkey and EU have initiated a customs union, and the customs union is in effect since 1995. Turkey has been granted a candidate status in 1999, etc. This is a long list, just to refresh the memories and some of our dear friends who may not be aware of these facts. I wish to thank Professor Popescu for her kind remarks, which reflect actually the kind attitude of the Romanian state as regards the Turkish full membership to the EU.